LID MEDA های خراب نام تو خراب نام کلی چه دیگه صدای نمیگشه اینه
نه کبر قطعی خیلی
حالا
Hey, everybody.
Hello,
Hi, Professor.
Hello, Professor.
Hey, Lydia.
Hi, Professor.
Hey, Barbara. Who else is here?
Hello, Professor.
Hi, Jawed. Hung is here. Shabnam's here.
Hi.
Hi, you guys. More people coming in. I hope you guys are doing well. Cool. Maybe people are sending in their grammar writing 1 at the last second, you know? I hope that
Yeah, maybe.
maybe. I met with a few students who were working on grammar writing 1, so I hope it was going okay for you guys. I know infinitive verbs are always a challenge, so I'll say more when everyone's here, I know, but what do you do with, I like to swim, you know, what do you call that to? Is that a preposition or what do we do? So a lot of students have those type of questions, but I'll say more about grading and grammar writing 1 when we get started in about a minute or two here, but hopefully you had a little bit of fun. I know it's hard to do anything for the first time, but hopefully it was a little interesting. Who else is? Dimitri's coming in. Katie's here. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Professor.
How you doing? Alexandra's here. I got to talk to Alexandra this week in office hours. Hi, Galina.
Oh, hello, Professor. Sorry.
Hey.
You very helped me.
I'm happy to hear that. That's good.
But I think it's not enough. Well, okay, I understand. Okay, but when I work, I think, oh my gosh, the term or not? What is what
Yes.
is exactly?
Yes. Remember, in this, I know, I agree. In this class, it's here's the idiom, an English idiom, right? It's progress, not perfection, right? It's perfect grammar takes a lifetime, you guys, you know. But I promise, even though it was, I'm sure, still confusing, and there you made mistakes, and I'll help you, you know, see them and fix them, and that's not a problem. But I bet, I hope you feel like you know more today, you know, today's, you know, Thursday of week 5 than you did 5 weeks ago. You know, maybe you didn't even know what the object of a preposition was, you know, 5 weeks ago. So remember, everyone is learning, even though we're not perfect yet, of course not. But
this week, probably yesterday in the listening class, we study about adjective clauses. But one part of when we use this.
Okay.
And I remember about that, what we talk about that when subject. So I have a good question for Professor.
Hey.
and I say, I know I have this topic in the grammar class. So it's very good when work together in different way, different side, and we have repetition in our learning.
Excellent. That's great. That makes me happy. That's good. Who's your teacher for listening, Alexandra?
Mr. Hogan.
Cool. Patrick. Yeah, Patrick Hogan. He's been in this ESL department a long time. Yeah, he knows what he's doing, you know. Yes,
I take this class before 40 levels maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I take writing and listening. He explained very good. So when I have so good teacher in the grammar, in the listening together, maybe I can better understand something.
You're doing it. That's awesome. That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you, Alexandra. Alexandra recommended me to take Professor Jeff's class and Professor Hogan class.
Ooh, all right.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
It was advertising.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good. I love it. Okay. That's awesome. Well, I just saw more people coming in. Hi, Vlad, Johannes. Hi, everybody. Just again, saying hello as people come in. Nita's here and Vito's here. And who else did I see come in? Victor's here.
Hi, Professor.
Hi there, Nita. How you doing?
I'm good.
Hi, Professor.
Hi, Shamsia. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. Not too
That's
bad.
good. That's good.
Good. I feel like I have energy today. I was listening to some happy music before class. You know, I'm like, I'm ready. You know. And we'll get started here in a second. Jawad, I see your hand. What's up?
Okay, that's. I think you're going to start the class. It's okay. It was just.
Please.
Yeah, the thing is what I find really interesting in the grammar, and so when you're like analyzing the sentences, and so it's look much easier. It's fun. It's really interesting, but we say okay, it's not hard. It's not a big deal. It's not a big job, but when we do that by ourselves, it's really difficult.
Yes,
it's really interesting in the grammar.
Good. I like interesting. Interesting is a good word. And of course, right, it's always harder with real language, with our own language, or later in the semester, when we get closer to the end of the semester, I'll ask you to analyze, you know, an example from like a newspaper online, right? And I think ESL textbooks are great. It's good. You know, there are good things about ESL textbooks, but one problem I have is that, sorry, my computer wants to update, not now, is that those sentences are not really real life sentences, right? That the author will write them in a way that is very clear and obvious, which is good for practice, right? But I think it's really good to use sort of real language, and even better if it's yours. So it's always harder, to analyze. Analyze when you're home alone, and to analyze your own real writing is always more difficult, right?
Yeah, and so the news sentences analyzing, it sounds really interesting, sir. So it will be really good. I like that idea. So
excellent. Yeah. Well, I have good news for everybody. So I'll get started here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a second to say hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 5. So I just was getting to talk to a few people, and hopefully you had an interesting time doing Grammar Writing 1. Of course, I know it can be difficult, but hopefully you learned something, or thought it was a little bit interesting. But if you did not, if you were like, oh my goodness, Jeff is trying to kill me, I have good news, because today we're going to start to go bigger, right? We're not going to have to think about every single little word by itself. We're going to start to think about phrases, clauses, and sentences, right? And we're going to see how far we can go. But now we don't have to think about things with such a very specific, word for word. But again, going word for word will get you prepared for what we're doing today. So like I said, yes, Nita raised her hand. What's up?
Sorry, Professor, for the mistake.
No, please, anytime. Nita, question? Or was it an accident? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
It was an accident. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gotcha. All right. Well, welcome to everybody. I think I saw Lilia come in and Beatrice. So just saying hi to people. Hi. Okay. So today it is February 17th. We've already done, this is week 5, everybody. This is week 5. So here is the agenda for today. It's pretty short because I've got a quick update about grades. And then today we're going to talk about phrases, clauses, and sentences. And I really want to focus on phrases today. And if we have time, we can start to talk about clauses. The only other thing I wanted to say about this is if you see some of these, hold on one second. If you see here on this slide, right, I say LPT, Language Power Tutorial 2 and 3. All of the information that I'm talking about here is from chapter 2 and chapter 3 in the book, okay? And on some of these slides, I'll even give you the specific page. So if you feel like you want more detail or you're not sure about something, this is something I will start to do now, which is tell you sort of, hey, this is, you can read more about this in your book on page, whatever, 44, 56, etc. So here's my quick grading update. It's pretty short because I did not do a lot of grading for this class this week. I will grade discussion 2 this weekend. So please post your discussion there if you have not done so. Again, you can do it later, but it's so much more interesting if you do it with the rest of the class. And then grading update about grammar writing 1, right? That was due today. I will grade grammar writing 1 before our Zoom meeting next week. And remember, I said this when I introduced the assignment, when I grade it, I will help identify, show you your errors, and tell you how you can revise for a higher score. So if you get a 77, if you get a C on the first draft, don't worry. I will tell you your mistakes. And then if you want to, you can revise and resubmit and your score. Okay, but I will grade that within the week, right? By 1 week from today. And then the other thing I wanted to say is I will do my best, hopefully, be able to catch up on ungraded assignments. So if you did lesson 3 or 4, if you had a 0, and then you did lesson 3 or 4, and you're waiting, hopefully this weekend, I think I should have time. So that's my grading update, okay? Yeah, any questions, especially about what I'm saying about grammar writing 1, that I will show you your mistakes and then you can revise and resubmit. Any questions at all before we talk about phrases?
Yes, I have a question.
Please.
If I said, this is my sister's room.
Yeah.
So my sister's, I have to add apostrophe S. What it does, noun or pronoun? That sentence gave me a headache. Yeah. I was like, I cannot, I don't know.
The word sister is a noun.
Yeah, but
when you have an apostrophe S, I think I said this quickly, it's in the book. If you have a noun with a possessive, right? Possessive means whose room, right? Some people might say that that's a determiner. Some people might say it's an adjective. The argument, Beatrice, for Barbara, excuse me. The argument, Barbara, for it being a determiner is it comes before the noun room, right? And it modifies room. But that's what adjectives and determiners do. So I would say probably that's an adjective or a determiner in that case, even though sister is usually a noun. Make sense? Context.
I am very confused with that too, with the determiners.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I promise you're not the only one. Yeah. You have one quick example before I talk about phrases, or just you wanted to agree with Barbara?
Last class you said our state is very large, and our is not a pronoun. You say that it's a determiner.
Yes.
So I don't understand why.
It comes before a noun and modifies that noun. And that's different than saying this is ours with an S at the end, right? Ours is a pronoun. Our phone, our class, our information, that's a determiner. Comes before a noun, modifies the noun.
Okay.
And like I said last time, especially hard for Spanish speakers because Spanish never does that. You never put the thing that modifies the noun before the noun. It just doesn't happen. Well, not never, but like I said, rarely. All right, let's talk about phrases, clauses, and sentences. And again, a lot of what I'm talking about is in Language Power Tutorial 2 and 3. For today, especially 3. I will go back to 2 to see how, depending on, we will see how fast we go, okay? So Usually after grammar writing 1, students might say, Jeff, why did we spend so much time talking about and analyzing individual words and parts of speech? And remember, here is my answer. A group of words, a group of individual words makes up a phrase, right? And a group of phrases can make up a clause, and clauses make sentences. So in order to understand how to write grammatically correct sentences, you really do need to understand parts of speech, phrases, and clauses, even if you will hopefully, inshallah, never need to analyze them, after you leave a grammar class, right? When you're writing your essay for a writing class, don't worry about, now I'm going to choose to use a possessive determiner. No, you'll just be writing, right? But this understanding will help you write correct, grammatically correct sentences, okay? So today we're really gonna talk about phrases. So characteristics of phrases, and all this information is on page 44 in your book. If you wanna follow along with me, you can. And to talk about phrases, I'm gonna sort of use a metaphor here. And if you see in this picture, right, this is a mosaic, right? The English word for this type of art is a mosaic. And I'm asking you to think about this mosaic like a metaphor here, right? Like a symbol. So as I write, in this mosaic, there are many tiles, right? Many individual little square tiles. Think of each tile like one word, okay? Then the tiles, they group together to create specific images, right? In this mosaic, we see a giraffe, we see a tree, we see the sky and the grass. Now think of each image as a phrase, right? So individual tiles group together to create a phrase, right? In this case, a giraffe. Now, all of the individual tiles, the words, and the images, phrase, come together to create one picture of a giraffe standing near a tree, okay? This probably, hopefully pretty clear. But in this slide, I'm showing you a phrase is a group of words. So using this metaphor, think about a phrase is a group of words that creates a specific meaning within a sentence. And this word group, you guys, I'll highlight it because it's so important, right? A group of words that creates a specific meaning. So if a part of the phrase is removed, or if you don't include a word in your phrase, the meaning totally changes or disappears, right? This giraffe, it's a giraffe because all of the tiles go together. If you cut out or block certain tiles, the meaning changes, right? The meaning of the whole image changes. And we could think about, we could use a lot of different metaphors for sort of how words come together to create phrases. And again, in the textbook, Professor Ferris says, it's a group of words with a coherent meaning. And it's a little bit hard to sort of understand that concept, but I hope that when you see it like a picture, you understand, right? This giraffe is maybe 40 different tiles, but if you block 20 of the tiles, it changes. We kind of understand it's a giraffe, but it's not very clear, right? So phrases are groups of words that have to stick together, just like all of the individual tiles have to stick together to make a meaning of giraffe. Now, okay, what does this mean, right? What does this mean for language? If we think about this mosaic, these individual tiles, this metaphor that I'm showing you, well, let's talk about some of more of these characteristics of phrases. Now, in the sentence below here that we're gonna look at, specific words must group together to create a specific meaning. Now, look at the examples I'm gonna show you in the next slide and ask yourself, does the meaning change or become unclear if I group these words differently? And here's the example sentence that we will look at together. So, my friends' children, that's exactly like Barbara's example. My friends' children were laughing and playing in the big, beautiful backyard. I'm not even going to talk about parts of speech. We're not even going to worry about it. We're just going to look at phrases. So, for example, remember, groups of words. Can these groups of words come together to have a meaning? So in this sentence, my friend's children were laughing and playing in the big, beautiful backyard. I've got some groups of words here, and I want us to think about, is this a phrase? Yes or no, right? And that means, do all of these words grouped together give me a clear and specific meaning, right? So for example, and you can type in the chat, you can give me a thumbs up on the video, you can use a thumbs up or thumbs down in Zoom, whatever you want to. But the first possible phrase, my friend's children, do these words group together to have a clear meaning? And do we think it's a phrase?
No. Yes.
Dimitri says yes. Beatriz says
I think,
yes.
I think
I see.
yes.
I see
No.
lots of thumbs up. Barbara says no.
My friend
I'll-
children.
It's a group of words, but it has no meaning. My friend's children.
Yeah, it's not a phrase. Sorry.
Maybe you
My
need a
friend's
compliment.
children were
It is a
laughing.
phrase. It is a phrase.
Yes.
This is, it's okay. It's okay. We're learning. Katie, did you raise your hand? Or I think maybe she was just trying to give a thumbs up. This is a group of words. And now instead of, I want to answer all of these and then we'll look at them together, okay? Because when I show you things that aren't a phrase, hopefully it will make more sense why it is. So hold your questions. I will answer all of them in just a couple minutes, okay? So my friend's backyard is a group of words that goes together with one clear specific meaning, right? Now, how about in the big, oh, I missed a, excuse me, I forgot one of my adjectives here. In the big, beautiful backyard. Is this a phrase? Do those words
Yes.
group together?
Yes.
I hear yes. I see a thumbs up from Jawed.
I think it's preposition phrase.
We've talked about prepositional phrase. Like I said, most students like prepositional phrases.
Oh,
Yes,
because it's with the preposition.
this is a group of words that goes together, right? This has some meaning. This group of words is a whole giraffe, right? We're not breaking up the giraffe, right? Now, how about this one? My friends.
No.
Is this a phrase?
No.
Alexander says no. Dimitri says no.
No. So
My friends. Yeah, you can
And-
say yes because it's my friends, comma, and then you will say something else.
My friends, what though? In this case, this is again like
Oh,
Barbara's
no.
example here. If I have my determiner, friend, apostrophe S, possessive, if I just said my friends, not plural, right? The S is not plural, it's possessive. If someone just said to me, my friends, I'm gonna say your friends what? What are we talking about? You know what I mean?
Okay.
The meaning isn't clear. The meaning is incomplete, right? Let me check the chat to make sure. It'd be honestly for my, I'm so sorry you guys, but for my Spanish speakers, it'd be like saying el libro de, and then you don't say anything else, right? It's like,
Yeah,
whose? You know what I mean? Like it's not complete. The meaning is incomplete. Jawed says no in the chat. Okay, how about this one? We're laughing and playing.
Yes.
Yes.
the phrase.
Yes, phrase.
Dimitri says yes.
Complete
Jawed,
meaning.
I hear we love verbs. We're good. I have good news. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, this is. Now, how about if we go even bigger? We're laughing and playing in the big, beautiful backyard. Can I group all of those words together? Dimitri says yes.
Yes.
Shabnam says
Yes.
yes.
But
Beatrice,
do we need a subject or it is okay if we don't have it?
Barbara's jumping ahead to what we'll talk about next. For a clause, you must have a subject, but we're not there yet. We're just talking about phrases, okay? And that's fine though, that's fine. And again, different for Spanish speakers because in Spanish, the subject gets attached to the verb very often, right? You can just say hablo. You don't need to say yo hablo. In English, you need the pronoun, right? You must have the subject noun phrase. So a little bit different for my Spanish speakers. But again, we're talking about phrases, and regardless of without worrying about a subject here, this group of words goes together. It gives me a clear meaning. It's a phrase.
Yes.
Playing in the big beautiful. Phrase or not a phrase?
No.
No.
I see thumbs
It's
down.
yes.
Dimitri says no. I'm
Yes.
looking in the chat. Let's see.
Yes.
Beatrice is saying yes. Katie
Because
says
we
yes.
don't know
In the
what.
big
But in the
beautiful.
big, beautiful what?
There it is, Barbara.
When
There,
does
I heard
to-
all like I heard Alexandra say it. I heard Barbara say it. The big, beautiful, the big, beautiful what?
Well, it's the same like my friend children. My friend children's what? And it's a phrase. And then
Yeah, I
No.
was confused in that one too.
No. My friend's children, that's a thing. I know it's a thing.
Can I
because
say
it's-
my mom,
it's-
my husband's mom?
Yep, that's a phrase.
Okay,
But what if you just said my mom, my husband's?
my husband was.
playing
Exactly.
The big, beautiful.
The big, beautiful what?
Yeah.
And again, I feel guilty because I only have 2 Spanish speakers, but maybe it's hard for Barbara and Beatriz because it's different. In Spanish, you can say el lindo, and you don't necessarily need a noun after the adjective, right? An adjective in Spanish can be a noun by itself, right?
Mhm.
It is a little different. Here in English, playing in the big, beautiful, I don't know. And even if you weren't sure here, okay, we've talked about prepositions. Everybody likes prepositional phrases here because, well, we don't like choosing which preposition, but in grammar, we understand. In the big, beautiful backyard, I told you, you must have a noun phrase after the preposition. That means you must have a noun, right? So I've got article, determiner, adjective, adjective, noun. Well, here I've got a preposition with no noun after it, right? I mean, it's not complete. It's not complete. It doesn't give me a full meaning, right? So this is no, and we're going to keep practicing.
But
And the last one, and then I'm ready for any questions. Let's just do the last one, Beatriz. My friend's children were. Is this complete or incomplete?
Incomplete.
Dimitri says no. Jawed says no. Shabnam says yes.
My friend's children were.
Well, no.
What?
It's
Thank you.
incomplete.
I heard Shamsia saying we're what, right? Katie says no. Johanna says no in the chat.
Yes, no.
That's it. We're what? Right? We're what?
Professor, I'm sorry, I was thinking you say work. I thought like it's work, not the work.
Oh no, yeah.
So
my
mine is what
my
goes to
friend's
work.
children work. Okay, that's a whole sentence. We could,
Yeah.
you know. Well, if children, yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be fine. Okay, now let's talk. I've got lots more practice today, but what are the questions? And then I'll start a new slide and we'll look at it together.
You were saying that the example, the prepositional phrase, like in the
Yep.
big, beautiful jar, big is an adjective,
It is.
beautiful adjective, and backyard is a noun.
It is.
And then why in the plain, in the big, beautiful is, there are 2 adjectives too. I'm confused now what I was going to ask you. Exactly.
That's okay. If you're,
But
oh, go ahead. If you're,
no, because for me, plain, it's
Yeah.
a noun.
nope. Well,
But
that's an interesting question. I mean, in this case, I don't think so because I put this on purpose in the past continuous, right? So here, were is an auxiliary verb, and I've actually got 2 verb forms here, right? Laughing and playing. So playing is a verb here, right? This is like we said, we're laughing and playing. We all kind of agreed. That's a phrase, right? That's our verb phrase, really, right? And that, again, it's a good question, Beatrice, because context, playing can be a gerund, right? It can be a noun, absolutely. But in this sentence, in this group of words, I've got verb, preposition, determiner, auxiliary, adjective, article, determiner, adjective, adjective, but no noun after the preposition, right?
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I know this isn't a perfect metaphor, but this is what I'm trying to show you, right? Like in the big beautiful is like this. It's kind of like there's a giraffe head and there's giraffe legs, but no giraffe neck, right? Like it kind of makes sense, but it's not the full and complete picture because all the little tiles have to be grouped together to come up and create a phrase, right? Again, I know it's not a perfect metaphor. Jawed, please.
Yeah, Professor, so far when I saw these words, a group of words, and so what I learned or it means when we define the phrases, it means a group of words
Yes.
which give specific or clear meaning.
Yes.
This is right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
I think like it says, if I go to the textbook here in page, like I said, 44, I think is where this starts, right? Yeah, page 44. Professor Ferris, you know, she defines it, the author, she defines it. I think it's a little academic, right? But she says, a phrase is a related group of words that forms a recognizable unit of meaning within a sentence. To me, that sounds like a linguist. You know what that's not really how normal people talk. As a concept, I know what she's saying. So that's why I'm trying to show you this metaphor, right? Instead of a recognizable unit of meaning. I think it's easier to just show you examples of groups of words that come together to create some clear image, some clear meaning, and then show you this, right? If we break it up, it changes everything, right? In this picture, if we break up the tiles or we take some of the tiles out or put them in a different order, that will change everything. So again, on page 44, you see Professor Ferris's very clear, and she's right, but it's a very academic and sort of concept way to define what a phrase is. I think, you know, my goal, my dream, is at the end of class, this will feel a little bit more natural. I think practicing this, it can start to feel more intuitive, because part of this, Anita, I see your hand, part of it is just, if you did this in your first language, you guys, I promise you'd be like, oh yeah, those words go together, right? Yes. You kind of know, but we're doing it in our second, our third, our fourth language. That's why it's so difficult, you know. Nita, please, I'm ready.
Professor, my question is that, like, if for example, if we say a beautiful picture, so it's a phrase sentence, it's a phrase or not, a beautiful picture?
Yes, it is. A beautiful picture, and I love it. Yes, it is, right? But if I say, Anita, a beautiful, is that a phrase or not?
No.
Nope. Because again, I've heard a few people, I think Alexandra and Barbara said this, a beautiful what, right? Even if we're still learning English, you guys do have this feeling of like, well, we don't think this way. Americans don't think this way. But you're like, that was an adjective. Why isn't there a noun after that adjective, right? Like adjectives describe nouns. So you can't just say a beautiful. But again, English grammar needs a noun, right? We kind of need a noun to make some, like I said, in my kind of, I don't know if it's good or bad, but in my example, we got to finish the giraffe, right? A beautiful what? A beautiful what? Finish it. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Nita?
So yeah, a phrase, if I say a beautiful giraffe, it's a sentence.
Yep. It's a phrase, not a sentence, because in that example, we don't have a verb yet, so it can't be a sentence, but it is definitely a phrase, yes.
Thank you.
So when we have a sentence and we don't have a verb, it's a phrase, but when we have a verb, it's a sentence.
I mean, again, now you're getting ready. I have a slide that basically says something very similar to this, Barbara, but yeah, I can say this, and we'll talk more about it. If there's no verb, that is not a sentence.
Okay.
Yeah, that is not a clause, and that is not a sentence. Phrases, and we'll see again, I'm going to show you some more about phrases, but I don't want to go too deep, because just like we talked about, you can go really deep on some of this stuff, and then your brain kind of gets crazy and your eyes cross and you want to give up. So we won't do that. We're not going to do that. But having some understanding of phrases is really important because of Barbara's question, because I'll tell you right now, and I'll show you at the end of this presentation today, this lecture. A sentence is a noun, a subject noun phrase, and a verb phrase, right? A sentence must have a subject noun phrase and a verb phrase. That's why it's important to understand phrases, because that'll help you understand and really be aware of, learn about your own sentences, right? Any other questions? I've got more examples with this same sentence. So maybe let's go to the next slide and then we'll keep taking questions. So again, for example, now I'm talking about some of the things that Professor Ferris talks about on page 46 and 47 in her book. In 46 and 47, she's showing you different examples of the types of phrases: noun phrase, verb phrase, adjective phrase. So in this sentence that we just looked at, my friend's children, that's a noun phrase, right? And And in the book, she'll talk about, as you see on page 46, if you're with me, I'll still just read it out loud, even if you don't have your book in front of you, that's fine. She talks about phrases have heads, right? There's a word that's the head of the phrase. You know me, I like to talk about look, royalty, right? Kings and queens and stuff. Think of the head of a phrase as the king or the queen of the phrase, right? This is a noun phrase because the children, the noun, is the most important information in this phrase. And like I've said before, if I said to you guys, give me only one word, what's the subject of this sentence? What's the subject of this sentence? One word?
Children.
Yep, Alexandra's got it. Remember, all subjects in English are nouns. In this group of words, my friends' children, there's only one noun, right? I've got determiner. And like I said, if you want to call this an adjective or a determiner, I won't fight you. That's fine. But this is the only noun here, right? So in this group of three words, this is the king, this is the queen, this gives it the meaning, right? And here's the verb phrase, right? And here's the easy thing I'm going to teach you right now, if you're starting to worry. In this class, I only want you to think about the verb phrase as the verb phrase is the verb, and we could include everything that comes after the verb until the end of that sentence or clause. That is how powerful verbs are in English, right? The verb phrase, if you've ever studied this or seen it in another class, this used to be called the predicate, right? The predicate in English. But basically, again, all you need to understand for this class, if you're looking and thinking about verb phrases, is look for your verb. When you find your verb, the verb phrase starts with the verb, or in this case, what? An auxiliary, right? But that's still part of the verb phrase. It goes together. It starts with the verb and goes all the way to the end of the clause, okay? So in this sentence, a noun phrase here is my friend's children. That's the subject noun phrase. The verb phrase starts with the auxiliary word and includes everything after that. And then in the big, beautiful backyard, like I said, I talk about prepositional phrases early because most of you probably are like, okay, yeah, okay. Prepositional phrases, I'm good. Okay, I kind of get that. Yeah, I kind of get that, right? So do these examples make sense? These three examples of phrases make sense. And if not, let's talk about it.
I have a question, Professor.
Please, Javed.
So as a student, and if someone asked me and give me this kind of sentences, like we're laughing and playing in a big, beautiful backyard, yes. And he asked me that you're studying in college, and so is it a phrase or a sentence? If I see this is a phrase, and if he sees this is not a sentence, what's going to be my reply to him? What's going to be the proof to tell him this is not a sentence? Because it has a complete meaning. And
this
it has
group of words?
Yeah.
Because there is no subject noun phrase, right? And here's where I'm going to show you on the next slide. This subject noun phrase, notice this example that I'm giving you is 3 words, but maybe it's just 1 word, right? Maybe it's just they were laughing and playing. I don't know, but there's no noun phrase, right? This is again, it's a perfect question. I love when we get to talk about this stuff. It's very exciting. This is why we've talked about parts of speech, right? Hopefully you remember this. Every single English subject must be a noun. Well, for Jawad's question, in this group of words, we're laughing and playing, and let me add, every subject in English must be a noun, and English sentences must be subject, verb, object, right? Subject, verb, object. So in this group of words, we're laughing and playing in the big backyard. I have no noun before the verb. So I have no noun, I have no subject, right? Now, again, sometimes students will say, or maybe Jawed, I love your question. Maybe that person would say, there is a noun. Yeah. Backyard is a noun, but it's after the verb. And that's why word order in English, what I was saying about verbs, I'm not joking, you guys. Verbs are the most important part of speech in English because they run the sentence. They are so important that you have to put a noun before them, or it's an incomplete sentence, right? Or it's not really a full sentence. So all English subjects are nouns. All English sentences must be subject, verb, object. Therefore, this group of words must be a phrase because there is no subject noun before the verb. Jawed, does that make sense?
Exactly, sir. Yeah, it's completely clear. Thank you.
Okay, good. Alexandra, please. I see your hand.
We are laughing and playing. It is a verb phrase.
Yeah. Now, again, that's a great question. Alexandra has
prepositional.
Alexandra has I got to talk to Alexandra this week, and she has looked at language structure in different languages before. So I think that's a very interesting question. She's saying, let me add one. I'm going to add one here.
What was her question?
Her question, I'll show you. That's what I was just going to make sure I could explain it. She was saying, basically her question was, Jeff, what's the difference between this and this, right? Like,
they're laughing and playing.
And I'm going to tell you again for this class, honestly, Alexandra, we can talk about that one-on-one, but in this class, I'm going to say, don't worry about the difference. It doesn't really matter, right? I think it's an interesting question, but it doesn't really matter for us in this class, right? The most important thing to understand is, maybe we could say that this is like the complete verb phrase. I don't know, again. Or
okay,
this,
okay.
again.
I only worry, it is verb phrase where laughing and playing. It's verb phrase, yeah? Okay.
It is, and again, or if you've studied it before, maybe this whole group of words would be the predicate, but these four words would be the verb phrase, Alexandra. Depending on how you're studying and the teachers you're working with, you could call it different things. But again, in this class, now I'm talking to everybody, not just Alexandra. In this class, you guys, I don't care. If you want to call just the verbs and then stop the verb phrase where the preposition begins, that's fine with me, okay? Or if you want to include the whole thing, right? That's totally fine. We're at 310. There's 320 after this, right? If you're going to go to university, keep going. You'll keep learning about this stuff. I don't want people to worry too much about it in this class. But you're right, it's an important question. It's an important question, Alexandra.
And second question about this formula, subject, verb, object. But we have sentence without object, yes? Only subject, verb. It's not long sentence, but I am studying. So it is, it's work, yeah?
Yep. And in fact, I'm so happy that you guys are asking these questions. And this is where I'll show you after we talk about phrases, right? It could be that simple. A subject and a noun, a subject, noun, phrase, and a verb, that's a clause. And one clause can be a sentence. I swim. That's a sentence, right? Subject, verb, no object. That's fine. That's totally fine. So yeah. And in this case, what? This is the subject, noun phrase. That's the verb phrase, you know? So it can be that simple, right? It can be that simple. But we'll talk more about that later when we talk about how phrases come together to make clauses, right? And again, I'm happy, I think everybody, well, I think Barbara, Alexandra, Joe, already people are saying, how does this connect to sentences, which is great, right? Because that's what we want, right? That's why this is important. Why this is important. Okay, these three examples in this slide, noun phrase, verb phrase, prepositional phrase. Does this make sense why these groups of words go together and the type of phrase they are?
The last sentences, sir, the last sentence, like in the big, beautiful yard, you mentioned that's a prepositional phrase because of in, because of I in, and that's why it's a prepositional. And so would you please show us the trick or the method that how we can find the phrase that is noun phrase, this is verb phrase, this is because in the middle sentences, like from the top, the second one, and this is were, here is were, and like a were lapping, and the playing in here is also a preposition. So why we do not call that also prepositional phrase?
There's only one preposition in this sentence.
In.
In.
There's
In.
only one preposition in this sentence. I want to make sure that's clear. And now, but I do think, well, Jawed didn't say this. Your question is giving me an idea. If I don't answer your question, Jawed, I'm going to ask you again, but why this is hard, right? How do I know, Jeff? What type of phrase? What's the king in that phrase? What's the head if you use Professor Ferris, right, from the book? What's the head of the phrase?
Yeah,
okay.
Because I'm sorry to interrupt you. So
no,
because
no.
in math we have a rule, and so when we solve the application, and so this is the left to right. If there is like a divide and multiply, something like that. Hopefully,
That was it. I think Jawed was what he was saying. Well, sometimes students say this, and Jawed was asking a connected question. Well, in is the first word in that phrase, so. Is the king or the queen of that phrase the first word? Well, that can't be true, right? Because children we have determiner, adjective, noun. So it's not about what word's first, right? And so the Jawed was saying, how do we know? We're doing it right now. You just got to think about it, practice, ask me questions, because you're right, Jawed, it's not math, right? Unfortunately, you can't say it's always the first word in the phrase. It's not always that simple, even this is a pretty short sentence, right? Like this isn't a crazy academic sentence, but we can already see, right? My children, my friends' children is the noun, is the head noun. So it's a noun phrase, but in the backyard, the preposition is the head. So how do we know? Practice, do the lessons in Canvas, ask me questions, read the textbook. Because there's not an always rule for that one, Jawed. Yeah.
I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Did you say something that my friends' children? You said that my and friends are determiners?
Yeah. Yes. My is definitely a determiner. I was saying some people might say friends is an adjective. Some people might say it's a determiner. For me in 310, I don't care what you call it, but it's one of those two.
But mine is not a pronoun. And my is not a pronoun.
Mine, M-I-N-E,
no, my
is a pronoun. My, M-Y, is a determiner. But Beatrice, I have good news. That is literally the same in Spanish. That's the difference between me and mío.
Between
right?
what?
Me, M-I, and mío, M-I-O. That is the exact same thing. Mío is the pronoun. Me is the determiner. It's exactly the same for my and mine in English.
And what is about the myself? It's a determiner or pronoun?
Friends, again, Barbara, you had the question of the night tonight at the beginning with your, you really did. Like I was saying, this is not a pronoun, right? In a normal, I'm gonna make this bigger here. Let me make another slide, hold on. Let's do the parts of speech for this sentence since we've seen it so much. I mean, why not? My is definitely a determiner. And like I was saying, and I'm going to answer the question, I promise, but like I said, if you want to call this a determiner, an adjective, I'm not going to get worried. Children is the noun. Were is an auxiliary. It's the helping verb that we use to create the past continuous. This is a verb.
Conjunction.
That's a conjunction. We'll call this a verb too. Now, again, we're going to talk about something called compound verbs next week. Don't worry about it right now. Sort of preparing you for it. Not very common, though. Not very common. Okay. Now, the question is, why is this word friends, why is it not a pronoun? Okay, in a normal sentence, well, in a different sentence. Now, absolutely. Now I have a pronoun she. Always, if you remember our chart, I didn't put it in this week's PowerPoint, but remember that chart is there for you for all time. Verb, determiner. And in this sentence, friend is definitely a noun. right? Friend is definitely a noun. My friend, her friend, the friend, a friend, right? But in this sentence up here, children must be a noun, right? Children, it's a plural noun. There's no other way. How do I know? It's the plural noun form of child. It comes before the verb. It's the subject of this sentence. It's got to be a noun. And here I have two words that come before the noun and modify it. And in English, there's only two things that do that: determiners and adjectives. So like I said, and the plural S is the other big key. I think this was Nita's question. I'm sorry if I heard the voice wrong, but the plural S is a big clue here, right? This is saying it's modifying this noun children. So it's got to be a determiner or an adjective. And like I said, at this level, you're all amazing, hardworking, intelligent students, but I promise you don't need to worry about if this is a determiner or an adjective, let the PhDs fight about it. You know what I mean? You don't need to worry about it. In this class, both are fine. Both are fine with me. Does that make sense?
Like for me, friends is a noun.
For me, friends is adjective because.
But do you see how it changes with the possessive, Beatriz?
Yeah.
The possessive changes everything there.
Mm-hmm.
The possessive changes everything there. So maybe that's, again, if this were grammar writing 2, Beatriz, this could be something in your reflection that you would write about. Hey, I'm a Spanish speaker. I know that possessive is very different in English and Spanish. I need to be aware of this because it's totally different, right? I mean, it is. It's this thing for, again, I don't know how possessives work in Russian-based languages or in Dari in Arabic, but I know it's totally different in Spanish and in English. And in English, you could change a noun into an adjective or a determiner really quickly, right? This happens all the time, right? My sister's son, my dog's toy. I mean, we do this all the time, right? And that possessive S changes everything. And in all these examples, son is a noun, toy is a noun. The possessive S absolutely changes the part of speech, right? And again, it fits all of the rules that we learned for what an adjective and determiner do. What do they do in English? They come before nouns, they modify nouns.
The noun.
Exacto, exacto.
Professor, I have a question.
Yeah, I'm ready.
If I say my, I type down on my homework like it's determinate pronoun. Is wrong?
Wait, I'm sorry, my, M-Y or mine?
Yeah, my. I call determinate pronoun. Is wrong?
No, yeah, that's wrong.
I don't know the name.
It's okay. I'm telling you guys, that chart, I should just put that chart, the difference between possessive pronoun and possessive determiner. I should just have it in every PowerPoint, because Barbara, you're not the only student. I mean, students, it's hard. And again, remember, we're done identifying individual parts of speech after this. It's okay. You'll never have to do it again.
I know, because before I was using possessive determiners, but because teacher before was explaining it's determinant. I changed it and I was determinate pronoun.
That's all good.
Before I was okay.
You're getting closer and closer. Yeah, because it's possessive determiners. My possessive pronoun, mine. That's that sound I like from students. Yeah.
Okay, one more question.
Of course.
Articles, you said that the articles are also determiners?
Yes.
But then I don't get it.
Well, that's just the always rule that I said. Just like all modals, remember, could, should, would, when we're going to get ready for verb tenses in about 2 or 3 weeks. Remember, all modals can, could, should, would. All modals are auxiliaries. Now, and that's the same thing. All articles, well, there's only 4 in English, right? Un, the, and some. All the 4 articles in English are all determiners because they do exactly what my and, they do exactly what my does. They come before a noun, they modify the noun, and they give sort of more specific information about the noun, right? But again, I'm not that picky, honestly, you guys. If you label this, like if you said this is art instead of determiner, I won't take off the points, but I'll probably just highlight it, right? And say determiner. But I'm not worried about that. I'm not too worried about that.
I have a
Anybody
question.
else? Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, so what if I say children of my friends? Is this a prepositional phrase or it doesn't work?
Now you're speaking
Christian.
Spanish. Now you're speaking Spanish. Is it the same in Russian, Dimitri? Or
yes,
Ukrainian? Or
I think it's same, like
yeah.
friends, children, and children of my friends.
Oh, well, that's good. My Russian and Ukrainians, and the Spanish, you guys have you have something in common, right?
Yes.
And this is why it's so hard. I'm happy to know that, right? This is still a possessive determiner, though. Because we still need to get this possessive in there somewhere, right? We still need to get possessive in there somewhere. The difference is, now again, I don't want to scare you too bad, but I'm going to show you this since your questions are this good. When you go to study linguistics for PhD, oh, my friend's children, I was trying to do two things at once, excuse me. When you go study linguistics for PhD, you will meet a teacher who will tell you that actually this one word, friends, is two parts of speech. And friend is still a noun. And this S, this apostrophe S, that's the determiner. And children is still a noun. Now again,
I would do that thing. Yeah,
now,
if I have this kind of sentences.
That's fine, Joe. If I have a lot of linguists in this class and you guys want to keep doing PhD stuff, that's great. But usually students are, I've never asked students to do this because they will kill me. You know what I mean? But again, there is a theory of English grammatical structure where on the same word, you could have multiple grammatical, anyway. So, but again, outside of a linguistics, I mean, like, honestly, like Patrick Hogan, right? Patrick Hogan, I think he studied linguistics too, right? So he might say the same thing, but not every ESL teacher studies linguistics, you guys. Like, they might not even know what this is. So in an ESL textbook, you'll never see something like this. You'll never separate the possessive S from the noun and call them two different parts of speech. That is not an ESL thing. That's a linguistics thing, right? That's a linguistics thing. Now, again, I think it's really interesting, but don't worry about memorizing. You know, these are interesting, good questions to help your learning, but it's not something I expect to test you on or quiz you on. You know, I think that's really important for me to explain that. Nita, please.
Professor, my question is how we know it's a determinant or article, like the first sentence, the children. So the children, the is, sometimes we say it's an article, you know?
Yes, that was like Beatrice's great question. All articles are determiners. All articles are determiners.
Then if
always.
Then we say the apostrophe S is a determinant. So it's an article or not?
No, great question. Right, so all articles are determiners, but not all determiners are articles. Just like all modals are auxiliaries, but not all auxiliaries are modals, right? This were here, were laughing, is an auxiliary, but it's definitely not a modal, right? It's not could, would, should. You know what I'm saying?
Because the sentence didn't start with were?
Well, yeah, now we're getting really deep into it. No, the verb phrase started with were, but the sentence starts with the subject noun phrase.
Yeah, but you say like, it's not a model because that sentence didn't start with were laughing or with modal. That's why it's not modal in the sentence.
No, and this is where it gets confusing, right? Modals are really about meaning, not even because grammatically, Barbara, like they do the same thing in the structure, in the grammar of the sentence, they do the same thing. It's just that could and would and should have meaning, right? That's about,
okay.
But were has no meaning. We just use it for tense, right? It's just to show the tense. That's the only thing it's there for. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Nita, did I answer your question?
Yes, Professor, thank you.
Okay, good. I'm happy. Joed, what else you got?
My question is, Professor, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We did a lot
No,
of
I did not expect this type of detailed questions. It makes me so happy. It's really, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's yeah. And thank you, Professor, for your patience. And the thing, my question is about the WH question. When we have like a WH question, like a when, what is that? Is it determiner, or we can call that a WH question? That's it.
So for like, give me an example.
What is the weather? Like when do start your class or something like that? Like when just if we have like a WH question at the beginning of the sentences.
Save that, because I want to keep going. Save that question for next week. I promise I will answer it next week.
Okay, I got it.
I've already got the PowerPoint ready, but but I do want to stick with clauses. It's a great question, and I promise I will answer it.
Yeah, because when I was analyzing my sentences, there was some WH question. Like I didn't know what to say. WH question or a determiner, or I don't. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Great. Totally appropriate. Totally appropriate. Okay. We have 20 minutes, so we still have time for more questions. I want to show you one more thing. Okay, though. And then next week, we'll start to answer all of your amazing questions, because again, I'm very happy, because it means to me, when I hear your questions, I think, okay, Jeff, they are already starting to think about how words come together to make sentences. And that's it, right? That's the whole thing we're doing here. So that makes me very happy. But one more thing about phrases to keep in mind is that even inside of phrases, remember we said, my friend's children is the noun phrase, all three of those words. We're laughing and playing is the verb phrase, or we're laughing and playing in the big, beautiful backyard is a verb phrase. Even inside of phrases, you can have smaller phrases inside those phrases. My image for that is always this. Think of phrases and clauses can be like the babushka dolls, right? They are like the nesting dolls. They can keep going in, smaller and smaller and smaller, but they fit all inside each other. And here are some examples, but I promise I'm not going to scare you too much. Now, my friend's children is a noun phrase. Same examples here. The subject noun phrase. We're laughing and playing in the big, beautiful backyard. That's the verb phrase. It includes the verb and everything after it. In the big, beautiful backyard, those words all go together, and that's a prepositional phrase. But like I already showed you, inside that prepositional phrase, we have the object noun phrase, which is the big, beautiful backyard, right? Those group of words go together. And then as Professor Ferris shows us on page 47, where she talks about adjective phrases, big and beautiful by themselves, those two words are an adjective phrase. So even inside just this phrase, I've got a prepositional phrase with a noun phrase inside of it and an adjective phrase inside of that noun phrase. And that's what I mean when I talk about the nesting dolls, right? Now, I'm ready for questions, but just a reminder here, I'm going to show you one more thing about this. Do not worry about this too much, because I know that adjective and adverb phrases are difficult to identify, especially if they only include one word. So in this class, I will not ask you to identify every type of phrase in your own sentences, okay? But I need you to be aware of how phrases come together to create sentences and clauses, because next week, when I talk about clauses and sentence types, I will ask you to identify clauses. Okay, so I'm showing you this so that you have a deeper understanding of English language, but I don't want you to feel like I need to study this for 10 hours so that I can find every single adjective phrase. That's not what we're doing in this class. Okay, that's not what we're doing in this class, but I still think it's really important to show it to you, especially because it's in the textbook, right? Okay, now I'm ready for questions.
Why they say the big, beautiful backyard? What is a noun, phrase, object of a preposition? That is super complicated, no? It's not the same like you say like prepositional phrase?
But remember, I said, and I think this made sense a couple of weeks ago before we went into this detail, a prepositional phrase. The definition of a prepositional phrase is the preposition plus the noun phrase that comes after it, right? And I think I've said this a few times. In the backyard, under the bed, on my phone, in my hair, right?
Yes.
If you think about prepositions, it's always like that. By definition, a prepositional phrase must be preposition and then a noun phrase. Sometimes it's just one word, right? Well, is it? Yeah, we could say, I traveled by plane. By is one word preposition. Plane is a one word noun, right?
Yes.
But we also often have an article, a determiner after, right? Under the bed. Well, the bed go together. You need the and you need bed to give the meaning you want. You can't just say in bed. That would be a prepositional, I'm sorry, that would be a phrasal verb. That'd be a different thing. But, and this is what I was, this is like the slide I just showed, Barbara, is I don't want you to freak out, not you specifically, Barbara. I don't want anyone to freak out about every little tiny phrase, especially because sometimes one word can be one phrase. And that's where it gets scary and hard. And that's why I'm not asking you to worry about it. But I think it's important that you understand that in the structure of the language, let me show you an example. There is no difference in saying excuse me. I traveled by plane. By preposition, plane, object, noun, phrase, right? Even though it's just one word, there is no difference grammatically between that and when I say on the plane. Even though in this one I have two words, right? And in this other example, I have just one word. The structure of the language is exactly the same, right? And now again, I know how hard this is, and that's why I don't ask you to do this level of detail, right? But I still think it's important, at least that you understand, this is a phrase, one word, and these two words come together to make a phrase, just like they did in my example here, right? Even and inside that noun phrase might be an adjective, and this is true in all languages, not just English, but the adjectives in there are their own phrase. They have a group, they have a meaning, right? That's a giraffe just by themselves. Big and beautiful, they have meaning by themselves, right? Yeah. Okay, what else? Let me show, let's do, maybe this example would be good. Now that I can tell that feeling. Again, like I said, our eyes are starting to cross. Too much grammar. We'll take a break. We'll finish up here in a moment. But let's do this. Now that we've talked about this a lot, ask amazing questions. Some of the best questions I've heard in this class before. Let's look at one more example sentence and ask phrase or no phrase. Let's not even worry about what type of phrase. Just, is this a group of words that goes together?
No phrase,
So here's my example sentence. The hardworking students listened very closely to their English professor. So the hardworking, is that a phrase by itself? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Yes. Ah, no. No, because without students.
Excellent. I love it. I saw Lilia say no. I think Dimitri said no. I heard a lot of no's there, right? No, that's not the hardworking what? It's not clear. How about listened closely to?
What? No.
No.
Yeah, Dimitri
No.
says no. Nita says no.
To what?
Listen
No.
closely to what?
Jawed says thumbs down.
It's not
I hear people say,
complete.
listen to what? Listen to who, right?
Mhm.
Okay. To their English professor.
Yes.
It's a phrase.
It is.
Yes, complete meaning.
And in fact, it's a prepositional phrase,
Phrase,
right?
yeah.
It's a prepositional
To
phrase.
the-
Just the word very.
No.
Very what? No.
Ah,
No.
excellent. Listened closely to the, oh, let me fix this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this. Listened very closely to their English professor. Yes or no?
Yes.
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 Good. People, if you say yes, easy to that one, you will love next week's lesson about verb phrases, right? So that's good. That's good. How about the hardworking students?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Noun phrase.
It's in fact the subject noun phrase, yeah. How about very closely?
No.
We didn't talk about this one, but it's on, if you want more examples of this, it is on page 47. You can look at it. Very closely. What's our, Dimitri says yes, Shabnam says yes.
Maybe it's
Yes.
Jawed says no, Lilia says yes. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. The chat, yes, no. Katie says no.
No,
This-
I think very close to
Yes.
Very
no.
close to what? Of
Adverb.
what?
Oh, yeah.
No.
It is.
Yes.
But again, remember,
Oh,
and again, I'm not gonna, here's just the truth, you guys. I'm not gonna test you on adverb phrases or adjective phrases. It's hard, it's hard, it's hard. If you want to know, if you want to look at the hard stuff, again, look at page 47, she'll explain it. So yeah, I just wanted to show that to you. I just wanted to show that to you. Now remember, I'm asking in the context of this sentence. That's the last clue for this one. English professor.
Phrase.
No.
Yes. Yes, English professor.
English professor, yes.
It feels like yes, but what is missing in this? If you look at the whole
The
sentence,
English professor.
there it
Article.
is. I think
The
I heard
article
Beatrice say
or the
it.
determiner, the.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it, Beatrice. She got it right. English professor, of course, in any other sentence could be a noun phrase, but in this one, in this sentence, I've got a determiner that comes with it, and that determiner has to be a part of the noun phrase, right? The noun is the boss. The noun is the queen, the king. It rules. It's a noun phrase, but that noun phrase must include the determiner. Otherwise, it's only a giraffe body and a head and no neck. You know what I mean? You're not giving the full meaning for the example that we have in that sentence, right? And here's another example. Here's the answers, right? So the hardworking students, that's the subject noun phrase. The verb phrase is listen very closely to their English professor. Very closely is an adverb phrase. To their English professor is a prepositional phrase. Their English professor is the object of the preposition noun phrase. And that one word by itself is an example of an adjective phrase. I will say for the last time, do not worry about these little examples. But if you want to go deep on it, it's in the book and you can go there. You know what I mean? Or come talk to me and we can do it. Dimitri, yes, I saw a question. Or maybe not. Dimitri, if you do have a question, your hand was up before Joe.
Okay. Yeah. I'm speaking with myself. All right. So I have a question about the last one. The English, in these sentences, adjective phrase, or I mean, it's not a noun.
No, because it's like the example that we did in week 2 and 3, the history professor, right? Or Sacramento history. Sacramento is a noun when it's a city.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if it comes
I mean, it's adjective. Sorry, yeah, it's adjective phrase just for this sentence. But English by itself, it's a noun.
Yes, yeah. I mean, again, remember rule number 1, always in context. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Jawed, what's up?
So sometime when I participate in the class, most of the time I think about like a worst case scenario. I mean, so that will be much easier to see that as a phrase, like which kind of phrase is that. But if you ask us, just imagine we have an exam or test, and if you ask us that divide this sentence to the phrases, I think it will be much difficult for us. Give us this kind of sentences as a sentence and tell us, divide that to the phrases.
Nope, that's not, again, you can go study linguistics at Davis like I did if you want to, Jawed. You know, you can absolutely do that. But I did that for you here, because what I will ask you to do though is to separate your sentences into clauses, right? And it's important to understand how parts of speech, phrases, and clauses come together to make sentences. So no, I will not ever ask you to do like just so you see, I mean, you can go really deep, right? Like English sentence This is what I was doing at Davis. I love it, but it's hard. I mean, this is what you're talking about, Joed, is like, you can do, this is what, you do in grad school for linguistics. Like you could this is how deep you could go, right? Every phrase, every part of speech and all this stuff. But again, I will never ask you to do this. It's way more advanced than, again, my brother, I love him. He's, like I said, he graduated from San Jose State. He could not do this, right? Native speakers can't do this, okay? So I don't expect you to be able to, show me every phrase in your sentence. It's too much. At 310 level, it's way too much.
Because sometimes some people ask us and say, okay, this is one sentence. Could you divide that to the phrases? How many phrases in this?
Who's asking you that?
Like sometimes our friends, and sometimes, oh, you're like participating in college classes. Oh, nice. And when someone knows and they ask some weird kind of questions.
Yeah, take Jeff's class. You can't get that for free. You got to go take Jeff's class. Alexandra and then Nida, I saw your hand too. Alexandra, please.
I want to ask about the adjective phrase. In the book, we see the big yellow dog, it's adjective phrase. But what the English professor is noun phrase, but not adjective phrase. What is different? Maybe that it is object in this sentence, professor, it is main role for us, or what is?
The determiner. The short answer, Alexandra, is the determiner.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that's the short answer. Yeah. Nida.
Yes, Professor. My question is that, like, for example, what kind of phrase is this? While working for. So it's a verb phrase or it's a prepositional phrase?
Oh wait, is it your own example? You have your own sentence?
Yes, Professor.
And what was it?
Like while working for. Yes.
Like this?
Yes.
You want to finish the sentence? This isn't a phrase by itself, because this is an ugly giraffe. You know what I mean? There's no clear meaning with just these three words here. So you want to keep going or finish for me?
Like working for Amazon, it's hard to manage with family, for example. It's hard to study or something.
Yeah, great.
I think it's Amazon, sir.
Oh, it's such a good one. While working for amazing. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. While working for Amazon, comma. This is a phrase. What would I do here? This is definitely a preposition.
Prepositional phrase.
This is
what
definitely
is while?
A noun. Yeah, here's the thing. While's an adverb, right? And I can say that because let's just, in an easier sentence.
Work modifies the verb.
You could say, I sing while I work, right? Like in that sentence, hopefully it's clear. Sing is a verb and while is modifying the action, right? While is, I was gonna say while is always an adverb, but with English, you got to be careful. You can't say always, because English is there's no academia in English to keep the rules. You know what I mean? Okay, so while working for Amazon, and then what's this is the question. Let's talk about it when we talk about verb forms later. I'd call this whole thing though, I'd call an adverb phrase.
Because it starts with an adverb?
Exactly. But again, oh man, I love this class. Such good questions. Okay. In this instance, yes, Beatriz, but remember, the head, the king and the queen of the phrase is not always the first word. So that's just my warning. It's about meaning here. And in fact, this is really common in English, in other languages too, but whatever. French. Whatever. Now these aren't great sentences because my brain, they're just leaving my brain right now. But The thing about English and why it's so hard and why, again, I'm showing you phrases to get you ready for clauses. I'm not going to, again, I will not make you go phrase by phrase. We do this in English all the time where we have these phrases at the beginning of sentences. And really, I'm going to argue, I'm going to suggest that this whole phrase acts like, and Professor Ferris will say this in the book, it acts like an adverb. It gives us information about the action that comes after it, right? But again, that's much more advanced to think about. I think, again, to Nita's question, don't worry about what this is. It looks like a verb, but it can't be a verb because I don't have a noun, right? I don't have a subject before it. While is definitely not a noun. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that later. But this is an adverb, and hopefully for is clearly a preposition, and Amazon is a thing. It's a company, right? It's a noun. So I would call this, even though I will never ask you to do it in this class, I would call that whole thing as an adverb phrase that gives us context or information about this verb is. Like, that would be my argument, right? This group of words gives us information about what is. Do you know what I'm saying? Nita, does that make sense?
No.
Not
No.
clear.
And again, I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm not going to, you don't need it for this class, but if you really do care, go back and rewind the video of what I just said. I promise it makes sense. I promise. I know it's new, so it doesn't make sense right now, but I promise it's true, I guess. Even if it doesn't make sense, I promise it's true. This whole group of words gives us more information about the main action of the sentence. It really does.
This is a connection. It's connecting the whole sentence.
The meaning, right? The meaning, right, Beatriz?
Yeah.
The meaning. Absolutely. I agree. And here it is a subject pronoun, right? And all pronouns are nouns, right? Hard is an adjective.
Isn't it a conjunction? Is?
No. And again, we'll talk about what this is when we talk about sentence structure next week. Yeah, there's no conjunction in this sentence. Another reason that I think this is an adverb.
So
Another
Professor,
reason I
how
think.
do we know, like, if I sing, for example, that you gave us the I sing while I work. So
Yep.
So if we say the sing is the king or queen, so like I'm singing, or it's a word phrase, or it's a adjective adverb phrase. So how do we know that it's a phrase?
Actually, and I'm so sorry. This is why I should never invent sentence. And we're at time, so I want to make sure I finish. Let me save this last slide. I'll start next week here because actually I made a big mistake. I had a bad example because this is an example of. This is a bad example because this would be, in this case, this is like Beatrice's question. This would be a conjunction because it comes before a clause. So let me make it sure it's an adverb because I won't give you a subject and a verb after it. Now, right, that's fine. Right. Yeah, now, again, we're at time and I respect your time, so I won't keep you late. But let me just say, I will start with this slide next week to get you ready for clauses, right? And I'll keep saying, don't freak out too much about adjective and adverb phrases. The most important thing that I want is for you to be able to understand how clauses create sentences. So for that, I'm going to say I added 2 new lessons in Canvas, probably just best to focus on lesson 10. We didn't talk too much about noun phrases and verbs. If you want to try lesson 11, you can, but lesson 10 is to help you practice exactly what we talked about tonight. Okay. That's what lesson 10 is for. And I'm going to stop recording again to be respectful of your time. And then I'll say goodbye and answer any questions if you have them.